The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, All on the Stack, where you're going to get to see two Salesforce customers share their AppExchange stacks live. We're also giving you the opportunity to build your stack and share it live during this webinar or the next one at allinthestack.com. So while you're being inspired by this group today, feel free to check out allinthestack.com, build your own stack, put the link in the chat, and if we have time, we will definitely get to it. So today, I want to just introduce Geraldine Gray, Salesforce MVP. She is going to be leading today's webinar. And myself, Amanda Nelson of the AppExchange team, I'm here fielding questions, helping you out, and just making sure everything runs smoothly today. So right now, I'll pass it off to Geraldine.
Hello, thank you. Welcome, everybody. We are delighted this morning, depending on your time zone, to talk about All in the Stack. So, Amanda, would you kindly move on to our next slide? Thanks. Okay. Oh, and your personal photos of your team. Let's start by talking to our two participants, Gina and Ashley. Gina, please, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us how long you've been using Salesforce and how many users you're supporting in your org, so that when we start talking about your stack, people will have an idea about the volume of work that you might have to handle.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the Salesforce admin for Systech International. We're a technology company. I've been in the Salesforce universe for about almost 4 years now, certified admin, and I'm currently supporting 65 users.
Wow, okay, that's a lot. And Ashley from GeoPoint. Ashley, why don't you tell us how long have you been using Salesforce, how many users you've been supporting, and kind of what your role covers as well, please.
Sure. So hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Crosby. I work for GeoPoint, and we have an application up on the AppExchange. So we're using Salesforce to service our Salesforce users. So I work in our support department here. I've actually been with the company and have been using Salesforce for about 5.5 years now. And I've watched the company grow from a team of 2 now to a team of 40. So I've kind of run the spectrum since I started here. So my team right now is actually a team of 4, but we are supporting over 1,000 customers with those 4 people.
Wow. Okay, so Ashley, you're running support, customer support, and internal support. And Gina, you're running the entire Salesforce platform for your organization.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's start with Gina. So Gina, let's take a look at your stack and let's talk about what you've got there in your solution set. So I would like to start with, tell us a little bit about your collaboration tools. So you've got a stack of collaboration tools which presumably work in conjunction with others, right? Tell me that story. How do DocuSign and Former Positions and the NetSuite connector all work together to solve your internal problems or internal challenges?
So I'll start with Former Positions just because that's kind of at the bottom at the account and actually at the contact object, right? So we're tracking history when a contact moves from company to company. It just tracks, it allows us to see where they've been compared to where they are today, and we're able to at least follow the history when we're making sales deals and sales calls and initiating new business. With DocuSign, we actually use it to send quotes. However, we have a pretty interesting process. We also use it for internal to launch when we have a new SaaS sale for a new instance that our DevOps team has to kind of spin up. We actually launch a DocuSign process from within Salesforce and route it internally to about, I don't know, 5 different departments to get that environment up and running, get the credentials in the hands of the end customer, and communicate it out that we have a new it's connected via this legal connector, and we take products from NetSuite, which they're originated in NetSuite, and it pushes the product creation into Salesforce. We also push back account contacts and opportunities once they're in a closed finance stage, which happens after closed one. And we also then, once that order is created on the NetSuite side, we also push back order creation information back into Salesforce.
Okay, so it sounds to me like former positions help keep your data up to date. And then you have Celigo and Salesforce, which you'll do your opportunities and your quotes in Salesforce. When the quote is marked as 1, it gets slipped over to NetSuite, along with clearly some important information about the account, the contacts, and the opportunities. And then NetSuite creates the order, which gets pushed back into Salesforce. So then I assume that the marketing team pick that up, or who picks that up? How does that work?
So the order's being pushed back into Salesforce for a kind of a reference in, basically what closed and what we ordered against, and if it's fulfilled or not, if it's been shipped. So our sales team and basically is using that. It's not going. The marketing team can see it. I don't think they're using it. Doesn't mean they won't be in the future. And have a new marketing team on board. But the order information is also critical for Exactly. So we feed in that order information into Exactly for the commissions and the comp plans.
Wow, okay. So lots of companies stop using Salesforce when they get to the closed one part and they don't connect with their ERP. What has been your experience of using Celigo to connect to NetSuite? Is it, once you've done the work up front, is it pretty straightforward to keep it ticking along, or is it very complicated?
No, once we've outlined the fields and the flows going both ways, products come one way, but opportunity information goes both ways. Once you set it up, it's pretty much seamless. What we do find, though, is like if we need to add a field in Salesforce, we have to then add it to the connector if it's needed in NetSuite and pushed over. And vice versa, if there's something in NetSuite that they want to push back into Salesforce, we just have to add it to the connector. So we're on version 2 of their connector, which puts a lot of flexibility in the hands of the admins, whereas version 1, we used to have to rely on Celigo to make all of our connections and field updates.
Okay, so now it's your problem and your baby.
Exactly.
Okay, and then tell me, in terms of DocuSign, you said that you have a whole bunch of internal processes that DocuSign gets used for routing. Do you update data in Salesforce because you have it connected to DocuSign, or do you just use it to push data one way?
No, we definitely collect data during that DocuSign process and populate it back into Salesforce once the document is signed. So things like a URL of the environment. We have it connected as well. If a customer gets a DocuSign, they can actually change if their name isn't spelled correctly, and it'll come back and feed that back into Salesforce. So it's pretty intricate how we've used DocuSign.
Wow. So you're actually giving your customers like a Dyson vacuum cleaner so they can clean up their own data if there's a mistake in it. Pretty
much, yeah. Which is nice because it gives you that flexibility. It's nice that DocuSign allows you to do that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Okay, so then tell me a little bit about Exactly. You just briefly touched on it. What's one of the sort of strong use cases that you're using Exactly for, or that you're working on Exactly with right now?
So we're in project with it. We haven't gone live yet. But basically, the theory is that our comp plans would all get loaded for our sales reps. And the order data along with data on the account and on the opportunity, like as far as who owned it and who's on the team, because they also would get commissioned a percentage if like an SC is on there. We actually are trying to comp them as well. So all that processing will happen in Exactly. I'm not really the admin for Exactly, so I can't really touch on details, but that's the high-level project that they're working on right now.
Okay, so that's interesting because I've seen companies where when they've given salespeople the ability to determine what their commission might be, they've been able to increase their sales, not exponentially, but partly by having more insights into what makes the company more profitable, and also, you know, what's going to help them meet their number. So having Exactly and Salesforce talking to each other, I mean, that's really a nice tool for the sales guys, and especially if you have other people on the account that they're getting paid commission as well. That's a really neat way to make sure that everybody can see what's going on with it.
Yeah, I love that tool. I worked with it a little bit in the beginning, and yeah, it's very powerful, and I definitely see the value in it.
Okay, excellent. So one more question before we move on to Ashley. You have Field Trip. So many people love Field Trip. For those listening today that haven't used Field Trip, what's your use case for it? What do you use it for?
So it's funny, I just ran a report. I did an analysis the other day because we're getting ready. Record types in my org was something very new to them. So I'm getting ready to start breaking out our opportunities by record type. And I wanted to kind of do an analysis of what fields are being used, how often are they populated, when they're created. So I just ran that analysis the other day, and I'm currently working with, okay, what maps to NetSuite, and what does NetSuite need before I actually start down that path. But it's a great tool when you've inherited an org and you're trying to like kind of figure out what's going on, what's being used, what's not being used, because a lot of times fields get created and they're never populated, or they're a thought that never come to fruition. You know, we always like to work in a sandbox, but sometimes we can't. So this is really a great tool when you're trying to figure out what's going on with an object.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we're going to move to Ashley, but I'm going to ask you to think about, if you had a dream stack, what would be one of those key AppExchange tools that you'd have in your dream stack? And you think about that, and then we'll move on to Ashley, and she can tell us about her stack, and we'll come back to you in a moment. Thank you, Gina.
You're welcome.
Hey, Ashley.
Yes.
Hey, wow, brilliant. So thank you so much for joining us. I'll give a shout out to the guys at GeoPoint, especially Chris, for his delightful email that he sent me a couple of days ago. Sorry I haven't got back to you. You know how it is. He's been my friend in the ecosystem for many years. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing at GeoPoint, and let's talk about your stack. So you're supporting 40 users plus all of your customer base.
Well, my team's actually
how does that
4,
work?
not the 0, just a team of 4.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so we have our thousands of users in our customer base. So what we're doing, GeoPoint, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, allows you to take your Salesforce data and use it and work with it on a geographic map. So our responsibility is making sure that our customers and our prospects are seeing what they want to see on the map, that things are working the way they expect it to, and when problems do come up, getting those resolved as soon as possible. So that is how I spend my day, is making sure that that's happening and that the documentation is there for people to find it on their own.
Okay, so let's take a look at your stack. And let's start with, okay, so the center of your universe is GeoPoint. So tell me about how you deliver and how you execute on fantastic customer service at GeoPoint using your own tool. And then let's talk about how Desk and the GoToMeetings hook into this.
Sure. So a lot of times I think a good chunk of our customers are using GeoPoint from the sales perspective. They've got their road warriors, they've got their inside sales, and they're looking at, where do I need to do my visits, and what are my routes going to look like, and where are the concentrations of those things. And that's all great, but there's lots of other use cases for it too. In my case, GeoPoint is more of a project-oriented application. So my most recent project I ran in GeoPoint was, we needed to be doing some rearranging of calendars and working hours for our analysts to see when did we need support analysts available for our customers. So I ran all of our customers through GeoPoint and then created a thematic map by zip code, or by time zone, sorry, and looked at where do we have the most cases coming in and where do we have the most customers based by time zone. so that I could see, okay, where do we have too much coverage? Where do we not have enough coverage? So those are the sorts of things that I'm using GeoPoint for, is that kind of a project-based, improvement type of a tool.
And were you able to trace those changes that you made using your GeoPoint analysis to lower wait times or faster response times for customers?
Yes, it is getting better, and we're working on it more and more. That's part of what we're working on right now, and it was from those findings at GeoPoint.
Okay, that's brilliant. Tell me a little about Desk. So what you're using, are customers using opening tickets in Desk? How does that work?
Yes, so Desk is our internal support system, and so that is how our customers are opening their support cases. Some use the portal, some just send us emails and they come to it. And so that is where my team is spending their days, in Desk. But for the rest of our team, it's super important that that's all connected into Salesforce, so they can see, especially for our customer success team and our account executives, what are we talking to their customers about? Are the conversations going well? Are they maybe not going so well? Making sure that that everybody on the team that's touching these customers knows exactly what's going on. So for us, the world is Desk, but for the rest of our team, it's seeing it in Salesforce and having them connected together.
And then, what does GoToMeeting solve for when you're working with customers?
We use GoToMeeting all the time to do customer calls. We're available by phone, but we actually prefer doing screen shares, because if we can get on a screen share with a customer and see exactly what they're seeing and reproduce it while we're on a call with them, then we're going to be able to help them a lot faster.
Okay, so you'll throw up GoToMeeting, ask them to jump in, they'll share their screens, and then you can immediately say, aha, the problem is that you don't have X box checked, and if you don't have that box checked, then you can't get the right solution.
Exactly.
Okay, super easy. Okay, so I think people would be intrigued to hear about Slack. So some people love Slack, some people hate Slack. How do you guys use Slack? I think it's especially appropriate because you're a development company as well as being on the AppExchange. So tell us how you use Slack and where that comes into to play with Salesforce.
Yeah, so for us, we are a very spread out team. In fact, I am not in the same office with the rest of my team in particular. So for us, having that kind of communication is extremely important. So we've got, the channels where we're not talking super serious work stuff, but we've also got channels that are separated out by department, so that, for us, we have the support channel where anybody can ask support questions. We've got more private channels for things that are specific to just the support people and the dev people, where we can have communications that aren't going to confuse the sales folk. So we've got those sorts of things in Slack, but then we've also got the smaller team ones, particular my team in general, making sure that we're communicating and constantly know exactly what's going on with each other when we aren't all in the same room. And for that, Slack is invaluable. And we've got lots of different add-ons into Slack that just make it that much easier. Nice, easy looks at our Salesforce data if we put links in there and that sort of thing. So it's, I know some people don't love it, but for us, it's definitely a necessity.
So it's perfect for a team that's remote, or a team that's got multiple users doing multiple things all at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay. And then one last question. Tell us about Ring Central, because I don't see a ton of people integrating their VoIP or their phone system into Salesforce. How does that work for you? What's the user experience? What's the customer experience?
Yeah, so ours isn't necessarily directly into Salesforce. Where we actually see it more is coming into Desk, and we have those coming into Desk for us as emails, and then we have direct access to the voicemails. So where we're using it is it's our main phone communication, but for us it's and my team in particular, it's making sure that we have a full documentation of any support voicemails that come in. And so those actually, they come in as emails, but they're voicemails. So all of that is getting connected through Desk and into Salesforce. and making sure that communications just don't get lost. That's hugely important for us.
Okay, and let me ask you to think about this question. If you had a dream stack and you could pick anything you wanted off the AppExchange, I'm going to ask Gina first to come back to us, but think about what that one app or two apps would be that you'd be picking off the AppExchange if you could have anything you wanted. Okay, so Gina, rejoin us, please.
Hello.
Hey, okay, so I gave you some time to think because I know I put you on the spot last time I asked you that. What's in your dream stack? Please tell us.
So definitely Own Backup. Own Backup allows you to monitor data changes. So if you have somebody in there or a process making massive changes to your data, you can see that graphically. It also allows you to seed your sandboxes with data along with backing up your production data. So that's a tool that I would love to have if the budget would allow.
Okay, so I didn't realize that. So if you have own data backup, you can take prod data and push it to your sandbox. So if you're not a developer or if you don't have a partial sandbox, if you've got limitation on budget, then own data will allow you to do that.
Correct.
Okay, that's really handy. It saves a lot of people a lot of time. Ashley, what is in your dream stack?
Well, when you asked me this previously, I had a hard time coming up with a good answer, but I'm going to go super simple.
Shopping.
Yeah.
You went shopping on the AppExchange. Okay, all right. What did you find?
I had to go super simple with mass update, mass edit, mass delete. There are times when I'm working on stuff to support customers where I see a quick need and where I know I can fix this with just a quick mass change. And it's, sometimes I want it in my org. Sometimes I just wish the customer had it and I could just do it. But obviously I would never actually do that to a customer's data, but it's just kind of that dream of, oh, I just wish I could do this in mass right now. So there you go.
So is that the version that's paid or is that the version that's free? Because there's a couple of them, right?
There are a couple of them. I mean, whichever would be, I guess I didn't do enough shopping to be able to answer that question. But that kind of tool in particular is, I think, really useful for certain projects.
Okay. And do you have any plans for the future for like where you're going to go next with your AppExchange stack? Is there something else that you guys are working on that you want to talk about as a project internally, or a tool that you've used that maybe you didn't include in your stack?
I can tell you that right now we're working on CPQ, hoping to start the project in January. I don't know if is that an AppExchange app though? It's an add-on.
Well, so when it was SteelBrick, you'd get the install link. So I would definitely class that as an app, whether or not it's installed from the AppExchange or not. Salesforce CPQ is most definitely an app. So have you been testing it, and are you going on the training class?
I probably will go to training. We are right now redoing our quote process because we found when we started looking at our current process that everyone in our company quotes, and that's why we have so many problems. So we're we're finalizing our final state. Along with that is the purchase of CPQ. So we hope to have approval within the next 30 days.
Okay, so I'm actually starting a Salesforce CPQ implementation next Monday. It's going to be delightful. We're layering it on top of technology that was implemented in 1985.
Oh my God.
we are coming out of the Stone Age and making everything not just Salesforce, but also making it all Salesforce 1 compatible. So it's going to be really interesting and probably a little bit gritty. I think that with CPQ projects, people are never as well prepared as they think they are. And too many people worry about what color the quote is rather than worrying about if the content is correct. So,
right.
Yeah, so there's and you have to get a lot of people to agree and sign off on the project. But once you've gone live with your CDQ project, it is life-changing. It's life-changing for the users, it's life-changing for the admins, it's life-changing for the finance people. Suddenly your process works, everything is connected and everything is related. And in terms of renewals for a business, it really does plan your pipeline for the next 12, 24, 36 months, depending on where you are in the renewal process. And it allows you to see all of the potential holes in your data, and the holes in your process and the holes in your sales process. So we tend to start simple and then get something launched rather than try to solve for everything. We try to solve for 80% and then get that launched, and then people can start using it much sooner rather than trying to solve for 95%, which is what we typically do.
Yeah, that's
and then
what we're
it's really hard to get. Yeah, really,
really hard
to
that
get.
route.
So, yeah. So Ashley, I want to ask you a question about GeoPoint in our last few minutes.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm surprised that one of the use cases that you didn't come up with GeoPoint was for marketing.
Yeah.
So I've often seen people take GeoPoint data and then determine where they're going to hold an event based on where their customers are. And you can only really do that when you can visually see it, right? I mean, you can do it in Salesforce, you can export it all to a Excel file, you can organize it all by zip code, and you can hope for the best. But using GeoPoint to target your market and then set a marketing event, so if you want to have a golf day or you want to do some kind of happy hour or such, like that would be a great use case for GeoPoint, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I'm assuming that you guys do that when you're getting ready for Dreamforce.
We sure do. Dreamforce, as well as the more regionalized events, our marketing team is in there and looking at it. And one of the things that's great about using a map to do that is, I mean, nobody knows the names of every suburb in LA. It's literally impossible. And yeah, you're right. You can get close if you're doing zip codes, but it's a lot. There's lots of room for error there. Whereas if you just build a shape, that's, it could be something as simple as a circle, or it could be something where you're actually determining how far out from a city you want to go. We have predetermined shapes like the MSAs in there. If you want to be, sticking to the metropolitan statistical areas, and just put that on the map, have that shape there, run that search, and then you're done. You don't have to worry about, is it in the right city? Do you have all the zip codes that you need? These are people that you want to target within the area of that event. And then we've got a built-in list action to allow you to add that to a campaign. And once it's in the campaign, then you can work with it however you want to. Our marketing team uses Pardot. So once it's in the campaign, it's getting sent over to Pardot. But it's, we can, once it gets to a campaign, then you can do lots with it, or you can create your own custom action and send the list over to wherever you want to send it.
Wow, cool. You could send it, you could make a template and you could integrate it with your Cirrus Insights and start using that to target your customers. I saw you had Cirrus Insights on your stack. We use Cirrus at Endium. Okay, so we are right out of time. Thank you. I think this has been brilliant. Let me hand back over to Amanda, who's going to talk about All in the Stack. And if attendees today are interested in being the next folks to present on this panel, Amanda's going to tell us how we can do it.
Great. Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Ashley. That was awesome. And I appreciate everybody joining the call today. Hope you found it interesting. Some great comments in the chat as well. So that was great to see. If you want to be featured in a future webinar, or if you just want to share what apps you're using with us, go to allinthestack.com and build out your stack today. We have an exciting session at Dreamforce where we're bringing this webinar to the stage. Geraldine will be interviewing 4 amazing customers, including some of the folks on this call, to just talk about their stacks, show them live, and get the audience engaged. So check it out at Dreamforce. I believe it's called 5 app stacks you'll want in your org. So look for that on dreamforce.com. We also have our webinar coming up again on December 6th and in January. If you're registered, so all you have to do is show up, same time, same place every month.
Thank you all for coming today, and we look forward to seeing you on allinthestack.com. Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gina. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Amanda.